What's going on, squad? I hope you're all doing well. I am making another more focused video right now, which should be out soon, but I thought based on the good response to my last video and the fact it was a lot of fun to make, I'd double down and give you guys 10 more really promising upcoming 2025 indie games. I gotta shout out you guys for putting me onto some cool stuff in the comments of the last video, a few of which I'll cover today. A lot of what's going on in the indie game scene recently is really inspiring and cool. Some of our generation's most interesting artists are working in this medium. I really love that making games is now fairly accessible, and these passion projects can come into fruition so often. It's an antidote to the hyper-commercialized mainstream live service stuff to see such impressive, smaller-scaled games be made so frequently, often which aim to experiment a little bit more, or even just make really honest, heartfelt homages to other older games. Not only that, but I've had a lot of fun just scouring the market to see what's on offer, and finding the weirder, more off-the-radar stuff that could end up becoming a cult classic, or even possibly crossing over into the mainstream. I'm sure it's still decent, but the fact that the game of the moment is a slightly spruced up version of a game from 2006 is not the best reflection for the levels of creativity that is present in the video game landscape. Anyways, if you saw the last video, you know the deal. I'll run through 10 games and tell you why each of them has promise and what I enjoyed about its demo. All of these have a demo available live on Steam, so if you want to give any of them a spin, then they're just a few mouse clicks away. Let's get to it. We'll start things off with something that, slight hyperbole here, could legit become one of my favorite games of all time. It's passing the Sleepy Core vibe check so hard that it's kinda scary. Unbeatable is a rhythm/visual novel RPG sort of game, and I gotta be real with you all, this game hit me like crack, bro. I need another hit now. I don't care if the game ruins my life, I'll be begging on the streets for more. I'll be committing crimes to get my Unbeatable fix. This game is just so crazy cool. A beautiful art style featuring a sort of washed out CRT fuzziness over top the slick 2D animated characters and simple yet striking 3D environments. This is really high quality stuff. It has me recalling a bunch of stuff I really like Scott Pilgrim, Fooly Cooly, Persona 4 and 5. These all came to mind when I was playing this. All things that release dopamine into my brain just thinking about them, so forgive me for the disgusting fanboy hype here. Its hazy atmosphere and lighting were amazing. They really struck a chord with me for sure. Surreal dream sequences with some striking direction for the simple text box dialogue scenes too. Seems like the story is quite detailed with a big focus on the exploration and character development just as much as there are rhythm game sections. I really enjoyed these environments, they were bursting with character and the art style made simple environments still look quite impressively lit. These rhythm game sections are pretty fun too. It just uses 2 buttons, and while I'm not the best judge because I suck at these sort of games, it seemed like it was challenging enough and filled with variety. It's got an original soundtrack too, featuring a bunch of artists and different remixes, definitely fits the vibe of the game, and I was enjoying the indie rock and electronic leaning tracks in particular. I was glad that a game that looked this cool wasn't soundtracked by electro swing, I guess. On the whole, this was just so unbelievably cool. The sort of game I already know I'll be downloading day one to give it a spin, because the amount of love put into it seems to be unbelievable, and it's quite distinct in its visual novel meets rhythm game premise as well. Really seems a cut above what you'd expect from an indie studio in a lot of ways. Now let's sidestep into a more traditional rhythm game. This is HYPERBEAT, which has an intriguing lo-fi aesthetic paired with banging electronic music. Makes me think of Rez for the PS2 immediately, though it plays fairly different. You navigate your knight down this tube and hit targets along the way which are in time with the beat, some of which also require a specific button press. I got my ass kicked on the harder levels on offer in this demo, but I did find it a lot of fun. It's a pretty challenging game, but when you're in the zone and doing well, you start to feel like a god. I was also really enjoying the mysterious vibes in the game's presentation too, where you're in this strange church-like area and knights with uncanny robot voices will speak some cryptic wisdom to you. Consider me very intrigued by this aesthetic, because it's not something I'd naturally associate with the kind of music on offer here, but it kind of works for me. There's this weird esoteric feel to the game. Not only that, but I was getting along well with the bouncy soundtrack, and the visuals ended up quite striking. It's a great example for how you can create an interesting look for the game within such limitations. Supporting Steam Workshop too, so I assume I can load up the game with custom tracks. So get me in some 2012 era Skrillex and I'm pretty much sorted. Another very stylish game is MINDWAVE. This is essentially WarioWare, but with a visual novel element to pad it out. This game had me vibing insanely hard to the title screen. One of those games where you just have to sit back and bop your head to the music. There's something so instantly amazing about a game that has title screen music like this. My favorite example is randomly Watch Dogs 2, the most 7 out of 10 game in existence, but it has an absurdly good title track done by Hudson Mohawk. Sometimes even a Ubisoft hater like me has to give credit where credit's due. MINDWAVE's title theme sounds amazing too, like damn, when the sax kicks in, peak stuff. If you've played WarioWare, you know the deal. It's maybe so similar that it's baiting a lawsuit from Nintendo. I always wondered why nobody really ripped off WarioWare, since those games are gold. And I don't think I've played any since Smooth Moves on the Wii. I used to play WarioWare Twisted on an emulator on my jailbroke iPod Touch back in the day too, because the actual game never came out in Europe. Eurobro is getting shafted once again, another L for the pile. But what makes MINDWAVE more than the pastiche is such a strong visual style, with this scribbly pixel art and sick character designs that really leave an impression. The writing seems sharp, which works well to break up the microgames and act as an edgier foil to the wackiness of the gameplay. Seems really promising for sure. This is something that's dripping with style front to back, and even the microgames are accompanied by a vocal pop song. It's really something that got me smiling over the course of a short demo. Sure, it's derivative of WarioWare, but since none of the recent WarioWares have really seemed to appeal to me, I'm probably more down for this pastiche than anything Nintendo might put out, especially if the quality shown in this demo is consistent for a bunch more levels. I don't think I'm ever defeating the 3D platformer fanboy allegations. I swear I like other games too, man. But hey, here's another 3D platformer that's cool as hell. This is 500 caliber CONTRACTZ. It's actually one of the strangest games I've played in a while. Immediately, I was intrigued by its 2000s aesthetic. This is going so hard into like early 2000s internet forums, but also taps into more current dystopian anti-corporate feelings too. This character looks like that DeviantArt mascot, and Sephiroth had an extra edgy love child. I guess the premise is that various employees of the most soul-crushing corporations crowdfund for a hitman to kill the CEO of their company, and edgy muck edgelord takes the call. This is like a 3D Mario game if Mario was this Luigi's brother instead.
Oh no!
A picture of what if Mario 64 had a sniper rifle is actually pretty accurate. It's a movement platformer that feels quite different to most stuff I've played. You use the sniper to gain aerial momentum and launch yourself across the level. Check this out, they're throwing me a party to celebrate me killing their boss. And hey, they're using word art just like I would in primary school to make the most insane PowerPoints of all time. 2000s kids, our time is now. This is something I'm actually all the way down for in terms of aesthetic. Its demo was a lot of fun to play, even though the actual level on offer doesn't have a massive amount to do in it, and the actual key goal of the assassination felt somewhat anticlimactic. But it's built in such a way that rewards repeat plays, and it definitely feels really satisfying once you get to grips with platforming with a sniper rifle and keeping your momentum up. There's a tips and tricks video soundtrack by this insanely cool 2000 nu metal throwback song too. Had me cracking up with the Windows Movie Maker transitions and chirpy text slides. Feels like it washed right up from 2008 era YouTube. I can't think of any game that leans so hard into this post Y2K type aesthetic. It scratches a certain sort of itch for sure, and I think if it's fleshed out a lot more, this could be a really different and fun sort of platform game. Let's switch gears a bit to look at GENOKIDS, which is a hack and slash game in the vein of a Devil May Cry, Hi-Fi Rush, or Kingdom Hearts. Its central gimmick is that you switch between 4 unique characters who are in a band with a press of the D-pad, and this can create crazy combos and a high ceiling for different attacking options. Each has different weapons which correspond to what instruments they play in the band. So the drummer has big fists, whereas the guitarist switches between a sword and a scythe. Really seems like this music theme could pair well with the character switching. It's like you're conducting a symphony of violence. I definitely like its cel-shaded, Soul Eater inspired art style, and the anime style characters have a similar sort of banter as the gang in Persona 5 as well. Seems like these devs really have an affinity for the games they're influenced by. I found this very satisfying to play, its combat seemed right up my alley, and the platforming aspects, while simple, were fun changes of pace to bridge the battle sequences together. This demo only had 2 of the 4 characters to play as, but both play really nice, and the ability to so smoothly switch between the gang is much appreciated, and seems like it will lead to hugely satisfying gameplay if you're to invest time to get good at it. This is AURASCOPE, a 2D platformer that is structured like a 3D Mario game and crossed with a Metroidvania. So think like Mario 64, Sunshine or Galaxy meets something like Shantae or Guacamelee. This means it's one where instead of the goal being to get to the end of a level, point A to point B type stuff, you've got more open levels that have multiple objectives that you'll return to. I don't think I've seen any 2D platformers take the 3D Mario formula, so this was quite a bit of fun to see pulled off so well as in AURASCOPE. There's a good amount of variety to the objectives and tasks. It's got fun collectathon elements that reward exploration as well. It dips its toes into Metroidvania type of structures and has you doing these little side quests in the hub world too. There's even a split screen versus mode, which is something extra that seems pretty cool. This controls really nicely. The characters have got a sick diving jump move that definitely feels satisfying to use. The pixel art is pretty high quality too, and obviously you can see it's very colorful, bright, and eye-catching. Last time I talked about the Sonic fan game to original title pipeline, and something similar is that this game's solo dev actually started off making Mario fan games and is now making his own original title. AURASCOPE was a lot of fun, and the demo available is surprisingly meaty, with lots to do, and you really get a good feel for what the full game will be like. It's something I'm definitely very interested in. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is back this year with remakes of the third and fourth games in the series, and I'm sure we'll get Underground and American Wasteland remakes too, because that's our lives now. Everything will be remade and then probably remade again in 15 years. I can just play the originals on Dolphin whenever, so I'm more inclined to check out OLLIEFROG Toad Skater instead. It's obviously quite derivative of the Tony Hawk's games from the late 19th and early 2000s, but this feels really tight to play, and I adore the simple, cutesy pastel art style. You can get your frog looking drippy with a character creator and then go shred the spot. Sure, Tony Hawk's might have Bam Margera and all these brand crossovers, but OLLIEFROG lets you play as a mustache frog and wear Gurren Lagann sunglasses, so who's really winning? This seems pretty promising with pick up and play arcadey level design, as well as a more in-depth career mode on offer too. Its soundtrack choices were on point, with pop punk and metalcore adjacent stuff, as well as more varied electronic tracks too. This level where you can go underwater and skate in the lake is pretty cool. I hope there's some more kind of out of the box ideas like that, as well as the more typical skating arenas like a university campus. I'm massive on the Jet Set Radio and Bomb Rush Cyberfunk type aesthetic, so anything that's on that general wavelength I'm bound to be a fan of. I'm left pretty impressed by this one-man love letter to classic skating games. Definitely something on my radar that I'd be very excited to check out. Let's stick on extreme sports and let me ask you, what's the most underrated form of transport? Probably bikes, bro. These things are so fun to ride around on a nice sunny day, feeling the wind in my face silkily going up and down hills. But since the UK doesn't have sunny days, I'll take this video game to fill that void. WHEELWORLD is kind of like a Forza Horizon open world racing game type deal, but with push bikes instead of gas guzzling cars. It's got very striking cel shaded graphics, and I really think they've got the feel of the bikes nailed on. Maybe this could even go in the direction of being like Zelda Breath of the Wild but with a bike. Like a chill exploration type game. There's definitely a fantastical edge to the setting, and the fact your bike is possessed by a spirit. I guess this is very much focused around the bike though, so no hopping off and platforming about, but the idea of an open world designed specifically for riding a bicycle around seems really promising to me. I recently tried out a game called Descenders, which also scratched a downhill mountain biking itch, but I'm more interested in an open world with actual tracks rather than procedurally generated levels. This developer made Nidhogg and its sequel, which I remember at least the first one getting a good reception, so it seems like we're in very good hands. WHEELWORLD looks like a big step up in ambition, and one that, according to this demo, might be something that really pays off. Here we have My Familiar, which is a new RPG that's shaping up to be very interesting. This drew me in immediately with such a strong pixel art aesthetic. I particularly like the sort of twilight purpley tint to the game. Its setting of Wish City is interesting too because it's so grimy and run down. It has a similar sort of vibe as the original Final Fantasy VII when you're exploring the Midgar slums. One of my formative gaming moments was playing this section of Final Fantasy VII, so anything that throws back to that feeling has me getting big dopamine hits, man. It's full of questionable CD characters, and even through the pixel art you can tell this place stinks. It's a really rich setting, and I was hooked and reeled right in by it. There's some sort of real world and fantasy world dichotomy in the plot as well, which is intriguing. I thought the writing was pretty sharp. It's cool to have a game where your party members aren't going to be typical RPG archetypes. This guy who joins is a raging alcoholic. Like, this dude's just down horrendous. As for its battle system, it's pretty typical turn-based stuff, but with timing-based exercises to boost your attack power. It's not blowing me away as much as the setting and vibe, but it more than does the job for me. I do really like these animations and backgrounds. Like, this beachy sunset background is really cool for sure. It's got such a jazzy soundtrack too, which fits so well. Had me bobbing my head along. This demo I played was fairly long and definitely succeeded in sinking me into the setting. All the art was really nice, the world building was strong, and I liked the grimy tone a whole lot too. My Familiar definitely seems like a potential cult classic lying in wait to be discovered. Another RPG that's caught my eye is Pillory, a dazzling black and white title that leans in heavy on a weird surreal tone. I'm really big on surreal stuff, and Pillory definitely intrigues me with a sort of compellingly vague limbo-esque world that seems to balance some light horror elements with sharp humor. This sort of atmosphere reminds me a bit of when I first played Undertale. I went into that game knowing nothing about it other than that it was Earthbound inspired, and so the initial sort of unsettling atmosphere it has until Sans shows up and it gets a bit tumblery and wacky always stuck with me. Omori definitely has moments of intense surreality too, especially when it switches switches to a horror tone. Not to say that Pillory is really a horror title at all. It's a bit unsettling, but the tone seems mostly light to start, and the NPCs are all pretty amusing. I love these little animated sections where they zoom in on the characters and show them off in more detail. It's enjoyably weird and striking. I thought his battle system seemed pretty promising too. It's like a turn-based card deck system where you're able to re-roll your hand a few times, but not too much of it or it'll cost you. Definitely seems like something with a fairly high ceiling, depending on if they add different party members and more different attack types. Pillory is definitely very intriguing. Its black and white sketchy pixel art style is pretty cool and very eye-catching. It was pretty fun to spend some time in this surreal environment, and I'd love to check back in another time. Hey, we're all good for today now, and I think I might have actually exhausted all the demos on Steam aside from maybe a couple, so I hope you found some more cool stuff that's now on your radar. Again, I think a lot of what's happening in the indie game scene is so cool and inspiring, so I'm really happy to have discovered a bunch of this stuff and excited to check out the finished products for each, as long as they don't catastrophically botch the landing. Let me know what titles caught your eye, and if I'm still missing anything cool. Also, cringe YouTuber segment, but thank you all for subscribing. I'm at over 1,000 subscribers now, which is unbelievable. I started this channel just thinking my videos would be shit that some of my friends checked out and nobody else, but I'm so grateful that you guys took a chance on an unproven channel. Got a bunch of cool stuff on the way that's a bit more ambitious, so I hope you'll stick with me for those videos too. Thanks so much for watching right till the very end. Stay safe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one again soon.